both streets here, even if it's not listed.
All right, are we on the record?
Yes.
All right, we can let the work session meeting come to order for Monday, March 3rd, 2014. The time is approximately 7 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices out on December 21st of 2013 to the Record and the Ridgewood News, positioning notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and filing a notice of the meeting with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind members of the public we have 3 fire exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We're on the record both by video and audio. If a member of the public wishes to speak, they need only identify themselves, and they can make a comment or ask any question. We'll be happy to try to figure out an answer. And if we could have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Capola?
Here.
Councilwoman Bisceglie?
Here.
Councilwoman Knowles?
Here.
Councilwoman Estrada?
Present.
Councilwoman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mascaro.
Present. Okay. Board discussion this evening, we have, is there a representative from Gable Associates? Come on, you can come up here, sir, and take a seat. This is a public hearing or a public meeting regarding the possibility of residential energy savings for electric by changing suppliers from your current provider, who may be PSE&G or another company, to a company who may provide you with energy savings. We'll let the gentleman from Gable Associates identify himself, and then he can tell us what this program is all about.
Sure. Good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Bob Chilton. I am Executive VP with Gable Associates. We're an energy consulting firm located in Highland Park, New Jersey. What I was going to address tonight is the program is called Government Energy Aggregation. This is a law that has been on the books in New Jersey for over 10 years, but it's really only in the last 18 months or so that it has taken hold, and actually the conditions are right, actually, to make this kind of a program work. So essentially the way the program works, in essence, I'll try to boil it down. It's really not complicated, so I don't need to boil it down much, is a municipality, with the passage of an ordinance, has the authority under state law to put together the residents in its town for one bulk purchase for electric power supply for its residents. And just to take a half a step back, over 10 years ago, the state changed the way the industry was structured in New Jersey. So the electric utilities still, as they always have, provide delivery service for everyone, but the supply, the commodity part of the business, is now open to competition, and any customer, a residential customer, business customer, municipal customer, can purchase the power supply from either a third-party supplier or from PSE&G or the utility. You have your choice. This program puts together the residents in town that have not already chosen a third-party supplier. So, just to put it in perspective, statewide, about 16% of customers, residential customers, have already chosen a third-party supplier on their own, made their own deal, gotten their own contract. So that leaves about 85% of the customers, generally speaking, statewide, that have not switched to a third-party supplier. So that really is the core of the eligible customer base. The point here is not to, if someone has taken the initiative to get their own supply contract, the point of this program is not to upset that or to undo that. This is really addressing the 85% of the folks or so who have not and are still buying from PSE&G. The point of the program is very simple, is to put all the residents together in one big pool, if you will. The municipality goes out through a competitive bid process with the help of a consultant to take bids from third-party suppliers. If a price comes back that's lower than the price that PSE&G charges for power supply, then the municipality may award the contract, and the customers in the town would be eligible to partake in that contract. If the bids come back and there's no savings, that's as far as the program goes. It ends. There's no obligation to, not only is there not an obligation to award the contract, the law would prohibit a municipality to award a contract if the price was not lower than the utility price. The way it works from there is once there's a bid, a competitive bid done, it's done through local public contract law, it's noticed, we go through a bid process. If a bid comes back that's lower than the utility price, and the municipality chooses to award the contract, the next step then is to notify all the residents of the deal. A letter goes out to all the residents notifying them of the price, the length of the contract, the savings versus the utility tariff price, and then gives the residents information on how they can opt out of the program if they so choose. Either by sending back a postage-paid card that's provided to them, or by calling a toll-free number. They can simply opt out of the program. There's no penalties. There's no repercussions. You get out. There's a 30-day. It's called a 30-day opt-out period. The residents have 30 days to choose whether they want to opt out or not. After that 30-day period expires, the remaining customers that have not opted out are enrolled in the program. They begin getting the new lower contract price. Anytime thereafter, if a resident changes their mind, finds a better deal elsewhere, just simply wasn't paying attention, and suddenly is focused, and they look at their bill and they see there's a third-party supplier, anytime a resident can get out of the contract. They simply call the supplier and they get out. There's no penalties. There's no early termination fees, nothing. Under the state regulations that this goes under, the bid documents, before they go out to third-party suppliers, are reviewed by the Board of Public Utilities and by the Division of Rate Counsel and the Consumer Advocate. The bid documents are reviewed for compliance with the rules. Once that process is done, the bid goes out, and under that, and again, after the bids are done, that opt-out letter that I talked about, that is also reviewed by the BPU and by Rate Counsel before it goes out. So this has very extensive regulations that oversee this whole program, and the BPU and Rate Counsel oversee the entire process from beginning to end. Statewide, there have been about 10 municipalities that have done this so far. Our firm has done 7 municipalities, one already for the second time. The first town to do this was Plumstead Township down in Ocean County. They actually did their program. They started about 18 months ago. They awarded a 12-month contract. They were very happy with the results. They rebid that this year, and we awarded a second contract for them, so they're now in their second contract. The other towns are kind of spread throughout the state: West Orange, Montgomery, Lambertville, West Amwell, Monroe Township, Toms River, which is the biggest town to date that's done it. Toms River is that was about 38,000 households. Bayonne has done it, and Willingboro and Glassboro have done it as well. The typical savings in the programs we've done so far have ranged from 10 to 15% off the power supply portion of the bill. So that works out to $10 to $15 a month, typically, for a residential customer, depending on your usage. If you use more, you save more. That's been the typical result. What we did in Lambertville and West Amwell for the first time is the rules allow a municipality, if it so chooses, to include a renewable energy component in the power supply. The power you get from PSE&G, the residents get from PSE&G, is basic power. It complies with the state regulations, which require about a 13% renewable energy component. And that's it. That's sort of like, we call that the standard product, if you will. So the rules do allow a municipality to ask for an additional renewable energy component in the bid. And there's a couple ways you can do that. Either a town can simply say, when they go out to bid, I want suppliers to include, say, a 20% renewable energy component. There's going to be a slightly higher price. You can choose a much higher component. Obviously, the more renewable energy, the higher the price is going to be. The other way to do it, which we did in Lambertville and West Amwell, is we made it an option that customers could choose. So everyone gets the standard product. We bid for the lowest possible price for the standard product. but customers were given the option of choosing a 100% renewable energy product if they so chose. It was a higher price. That price was advertised and disclosed to the customers, and they could choose it if they wanted. It was an opt-in on that. They got the default basic product unless they chose the more environmentally friendly, if you will, product. So that's an option. You don't have to do that. It's just something, if your constituents and the folks in your town happen to find that as an important element, that's something you can offer to residents as an added part of this as a program. Some of the basics, some of the questions, we've been doing this for a while now, we get a lot of questions. Some of the ones that come up are things like, okay, is this going to be more confusing for the customer? Answer is, this is, the third-party supplier still bills through the PSE&G bill, so you still only receive one bill. The only thing that happens is the line item in the PSE&G bill, which now has, it's called basic generation service, it's basically the power supply. That is replaced with a line item with charges from the new supplier, and the line is a lower total because the price is lower. So all the delivery charges are still on the bill that PSE&G always has. The power supply line item is replaced with the third party's line item. Customers that have budget billing arrangements with PSE&G, those can be maintained. The suppliers are required in the bid specifications to provide equal payment plans to customers who have that. That's important to a lot of folks. There's usually about 15% of folks in most towns have an equal payment plan. It tends to be a lot of the seniors that are on fixed incomes, and they can maintain that program. If some folks are on a low-income assistance program, some customers get assistance credits through the PSE&G bill. Those are maintained as well. They're still funneled through the PSE&G bill. Nothing changes there. What else? Let me think of. And obviously, the delivery service, the local wires are still maintained by PSE&G, so that nothing changes there. So if there's a power outage due to weather, due to an accident, a pole down, whatever it is, that's still PSE&G's responsibility. They're still regulated by the BPU. They are responsible. So any outage, that nothing changes there. This is really a change of supplier just for the cost of the commodity, but the delivery of the power over the grid is still PSE&G's responsibility. Nothing changes there. So I think that's a good overview of the program. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, we're going to open it up to the council, and then after council has any questions, then we'll open it up to the general public. Kathleen.
Just want to show you this article that was in the February 23rd.
The front page of the business section on the Ledger.
Just showing how many people got all these.
Yep.
Did you have a question, Kathleen?
Yeah, my question is, do you use a variable or fixed rate pricing?
Excellent. I should have pointed out at the beginning. These are fixed rate only, fixed price, and fixed term too. So, for instance, if the municipality awards, say, an 18-month contract, it's a fixed price per kilowatt hour for the full 18 months, nothing changes. And at the end of the 18 months, one of two things happens. Either the municipality decides, hey, this worked out well, let's rebid, and the municipality goes out to bid before the expiration and awards a new contract at a new price, or the municipality decides we don't want to do this again, or they may go out to bid and say the price went up and it's no longer lower than the PSE&G price. They don't award a contract, the contract expires, everyone goes back to PSE&G. So the point is, these deals, they happen all the time. This is very prevalent in the third-party supply, non-government aggregation, is you get a fixed price offer, maybe it's good for 6 months, maybe even 12 months, and then at the end of that period, the contract rolls over automatically. You can't get out automatically, and it rolls over to market or variable rate, as you said. And that's where the price tends to spike, and it really spiked in January, February when energy prices went up with the weather. So it's a long-winded answer to saying no, it's absolutely a fixed price, and that really is one of the really important elements of the program that differentiates it. It's basically very simple. Contract's very clear. Fixed term, fixed price, and then it's over. There's no automatic rollover. So what it does is for residents and consumers, they don't have to sort of go through all the fine print, because there is no fine print. You know, a lot of these deals are just like that. They change to a market price after a period of time. If you're not paying attention, And I've had it, honestly, I had it happen to me. You know, you're busy, you don't pay attention, a few months go by, your price changed. It's happened to, you know, people in my family have looked at their bills. It's a pretty common situation that occurs. So this is fixed price, fixed term, period. End of stuff.
So you don't work with the Systrum, Gateway, Palmico, North American, or HECO?
No, we're an independent energy agent. We work for the town. We're basically going out helping you do the bid process. We're not affiliated with any supplier. We don't do business with any supplier.
Anybody else? Mr. Chilton, why have a 30-day opt-out if you can opt out at any time?
Well, because you have to have an initial enrollment. So what happens is when a third-party supplier signs up a customer, they enroll that account with PSC&G, and then PSC&G and its records changes that account from, okay, we serve the customer power supply to the new third-party supplier. So there's an initial enrollment period, and this is all by rules, the BPU rules. They want to give the customers an initial 30-day period before they even get enrolled in the program from the get-go to make that decision. Once that 30 days is up, if you haven't opted out, you get enrolled, and so now you'll actually get one more notice from PSC&G after that enrollment hits, and you'll get one more sort of chance to get out if you want. But then once you're enrolled, now starting with the next meter read, you're now being supplied by the third-party supplier. Now you get, a month later, you get your first bill with the new supplier. It is going to be a lower price, but some customers, you know, look at it and they say, third-party supplier, I'm not comfortable with that. So the point is, even after you're enrolled and you're in a month, 2, 3 months, whatever it is, you can get out then. But there has to be an initial process before the enrollment starts.
Okay. Next question is,
question. As far as the communication to residents about opting in, you indicated that it's a letter. Do you do any phone solicitation during that time to our residents? Because this article and others have talked about the dangers of those types of solicitations.
Yep. So, no, we do not. What we do is, as far as outreach, it starts with, at the beginning of the program, once the municipality decides to go forward, we send a mailing out to everyone in town. That's basically a one-pager, both sides, kind of giving a one-page summary. This is what's going on. This is the basics of the program. And then we invite everyone out to, we have a public information session, which we advertise and bring people out for, you know, to answer questions. Then we also will put program description and frequently asked questions, which are pretty long now because we've been doing this for a while, so we get a lot of questions. We put that up on the borough website. So we're doing all this to educate folks, but once the contract's awarded, this letter it goes out again. The letter is using a format that the BPU has put on its website. We review it, the borough reviews it, supplier sends it out to all the eligible customers. They get that, they read it. There is a toll-free number provided, not only for opt-out, but just to answer questions for the selected supplier, for our firm, so they can call us with any questions. So we're not bugging people, harassing them. We're just providing information and giving them avenues to get information if they so choose. The section of the website on the borough's website is provided to the customers if the borough so chooses, where they have a program description and FAQs, etc. Because what we find is, I think folks are generally more comfortable if they're assured that this is something that's been sponsored by the municipality. This isn't some, you know, as you said, some sort of fly-by-night suppliers trying to scam somebody. It's a program that's been run through local public contract law, open bidding, all that stuff. So we do all these things to give customers information, so if they have any questions about it, they can either find them online, they can call someone to find out, but we don't proactively, you know, start harassing people and calling them, etc.
Does the government energy aggregation program, is it limited to electric, or does it include electric and gas?
Under the rules, you can do electric or gas. We have only done electric so far. Gas is, I have stayed away from thus far, and the specific reason is that the way in which the utility sets its gas rates for residents is much less predictable and more volatile than for electric. So the important thing to remember here is if you're doing a contract of 12 or 18 or 24 months, the rules require it has to be below the tariff price. So the way the electric rates are set, they're set once a year. They're done in a very orderly fashion. They're very predictable in terms of how the utility is required to put their portfolio together. So you know what the tariff prices are going to be for a year, and you can predict pretty closely what it's going to be a year out, 2 years out. Gas is not the same. So the concern is twofold. Right now, particularly right now with the market where it is, gas, I don't believe that a bid today would get a gas contract lower than what the PSE&G already charges. And secondly, I have much less ability to forecast and predict what PSE&G's gas prices will be in the future. So that makes you very careful about going out for a fixed price contract with a third-party supplier when you're not as confident that that price is going to remain below the tariff price. So the laws and the rules allow for electric and gas. The way we've done it is electric we've done, and gas we've been much more careful with.
Okay. Anybody else? Ed? And then Tom?
Couple questions. The major suppliers, they just had their BSG auction.
Correct.
And so basically they go through a similar sort of process where they're requesting RFPs for different suppliers also. So they, JCP&L, PSE&G, all the big companies go out to bid. They have millions of customers. But you're saying I can get Dominion or Verde Energy to come in and take River Edge's 4,000 customers and get essentially 20% less than what they're showing as their market price right now. There's something missing there from I don't understand how
That's a good question.
And how can they sustain those cuts?
So you're absolutely right. So PSE&G and the other utilities go out annually for this auction, BGS auction. And the way the BPU rules are set up, what they do is they go out each year for a 3-year contract that covers 1/3 of their customer load. So essentially what they have is in any given year they have their portfolio cost is made up of staggered 3-year contracts. So the auction they just did a couple weeks ago, that is for a contract that starts June of 14 and goes through May of 17. So that contract will replace a contract that they procured in 2011 that expires as of May 31st, 2014. So their costs are made up of a 3-year rolling portfolio of 3-year contracts, as opposed to what we're doing is going out right now at current market for all of the load, in River Edge for the 4,000 folks. So the way that the state has mandated that PSE&G buy its power automatically makes it an apple and an orange, so to speak, where it's different timing and it's different lengths of contracts. So PSE&G's tariffs, as of June of 14, will still have costs in there from things they did 2 years ago, and a year ago, and then a few months ago. So that's why the tariffs line up. And the other thing, too, is PSE&G is the default supplier. So all of their wholesale suppliers know that PSE&G is sort of the supplier of last resort, as it's called. So anybody can come back to PSE&G anytime they want, anywhere in the state. So that brings a little more uncertainty and with it in terms of the swings of load, and uncertainty translates into price premiums. So for those reasons, the circumstances have been for the last couple of years, and we think it'll last for at least a couple more years, that if you go out to bid for a group of customers all at one time, you'll get a lower price than what PSE&G is charging, even though you're absolutely right, PSE&G is buying for millions of customers literally, but it's the difference in the way the state mandates that they buy the power.
Because I'm looking, like, I went to my bill today, and I did what my supply cost is, and it's .1097 per kilowatt hour. Then I went to Dominion's website and I went to Verde's website, and they said, what would I pay today? And Dominion said it would be 11.72 cents a kilowatt, and Verde said it would be 11.29, and they give me a $75 bonus if I signed up now.
Right.
To be honest, you go to these websites and they're not very forthcoming with information. They're not very clear about how they don't compare apples to apples. They'll say it includes tax, it doesn't include tax. It includes the reconciliation, it doesn't include. So at the end of the day, I don't really know how much savings we're getting. And it doesn't surprise me why these companies now want to go this reverse route, because when they try to do this with direct marketing, the savings aren't there to make it a successful adventure for them. So now to try to aggregate it and force towns and force people to opt in, I just don't see that as a good way to promote market choice, or basically, to me, they're forced savings, and it's not based on anything market value. It's just based on manipulation of the rules, so to speak. Question about your company: that you get paid through a add-on fee to our power rate. Is that correct?
Correct. The supplier will pay us, and they include that cost in
So you get a per kilowatt hour charge
Right.
every month for the life of the contract.
Right, that's right. And that fee is, disclosed, it's right in the RFP, it's made public, so the suppliers know what they have to pay us. They include it in their bid, and everyone else knows what that is as well.
And then there's one last question.
Sure, go ahead.
Just wondering if your company has a direct or indirect affiliation with this Cooling America through local leadership?
They are, I'll call them a strategic partner. I mean, they team with us on some of these programs. They do kind of a limited function. They kind of help us with some of the outreach.
Because I know I had just pulled from the internet your agreement with West Orange, and it says they're your subcontractor. And when you look a little bit more about this group, you're going away from what I look at as a economic cost analysis, and then to me you're throwing in some political considerations, because this is a very strong, based on the history of this group, they're an advocacy group, and their number one agenda isn't saving money, it's about renewable resources and lowering carbon footprint, these kind of things. So to me, when you add that kind of political component to this, and you're telling us I have to put 4,000 of our, or 10,000 residents under this program, they don't know who's involved in this process. And I think that's something that people should know. If they're going to even have the enough information to opt out, they should know that that's the reality. You're giving money to a third party who may be advocating for things you don't want them advocating for.
Well, I'll say a couple things. That group call, their role's been very limited for that reason. You're right. They certainly they've helped us with some of the outreach. This is basically reaching out, just designing some of the literature and things like that. They have another sort of separate line of work that in terms of, you're right, trying to get more penetration for energy efficiency, things like that. And we've always, made clear to them the sort of priority of what's in the bid is up to the municipality. If the municipality chose to add these other features like renewable energy, or even, theoretically, you could say, okay, let's see if maybe you want to bid out for, high efficiency air conditioners or whatever, clearly that's the municipality's call, and in that case, that firm would probably have a greater role in the program. But I always make it very clear to municipalities, it's your call, it's your constituents. So if it's about the savings, then that's about the savings. And most towns, frankly, have made it a very simple program. It's just about the savings. If we can get a lower price, we'll do it, because we have such a mix of folks. There's maybe a small component of folks that are interested in renewable energy, but it may not be the majority of folks. So almost every program we've done has just been about the commodity getting a lower price, and none of these add-on services. And the two towns, but they did as one bid together, West Amwell and Lambertville, that wanted renewable energy. We designed the program to make it a voluntary selection for that added component, because the demographics in the town where there was a very active community that was very interested in renewable, but it wasn't by any means the majority of the community. They were very active, very vocal, but they were probably the minority. So the way we designed the program is that segment of folks can certainly choose the more expensive option if they choose, but that's something they're going to opt into. The basic program is for just plain commodity, the lowest possible price.
And as part of this process, you have to request all the potential customers' energy usage, correct?
Not exactly. What we get from PSEG at the beginning of the program is the aggregate usage for the town. So in other words, the PSEG will tell us there are, say 4,000 residential accounts that aren't served by a third-party supplier. 3,995 of them are under the RS tariff, maybe 5 are under the RLM tariff, whatever. And collectively, they use 1 million kilowatt hours in January, 1.5 million in February, et cetera. So all we're getting from PSE&G is the aggregate number of customers and their aggregate monthly usage, so we can provide that to the suppliers so they know what they're bidding on. That's all we get. Now, after the contract is awarded, that's when PSE&G provides the customer list, because we need that to get the mailing out to them and know who's in the program. But at the beginning, for the bid specs, all you get is aggregate information.
Mr. Shilton, a couple of things that I'd like some clarification on. First of all, you spoke about a 12-month, 18-month, and 24-month contract or ordinance that we'd be passing. What are this pluses and minuses to those three type of contracts? Why would we go for 24 if we're getting a price per year? Why would we go really past the 12 if we're only getting a price for the year?
No, you get the price, whatever the length of the contract, the fixed price is good for the full term. So if you happen to do a 20, and I'm just using round numbers, that's generally been the range, but what we typically do...
No, I misphrased that, and
okay,
I apologize, I misphrased that. My understanding is that since PSE&G goes out every year for a 3-year contract, at the end of each year they're going out again, the next contract's lower, it's going to change its aggregate price or its cumulative price, and therefore it could drop below. Is that not true? And so therefore, why would any municipality want to go past a 12-month trial period or test period or not?
Okay, so there's a few considerations that go into it. The way we typically do it is we will put in 3 different contract terms, and it depends on when you're bidding as to what the length is, but generally speaking, something like 12, 18, and 24. It varies a little. And you're looking for where the sweet spot is in the market in terms of the best price, right? If, like right now, you would very likely get a lower price for a longer-term contract because this recent weather has driven up short-term energy prices significantly. The longer-term prices have only moved up a little bit. So you'd probably get a better price, and maybe significantly so, with a 24 as opposed to 12. But it depends on the market. There are different conditions, different times. So the first thing you do is looking for where am I going to get the best price, and you take a few different terms and see where you get it. Now, the issue of the savings, you're right that the rates change once a year, and as I described earlier, that auction process, the utilities have these staggered 3-year contracts. So after the first year is up, the PSE&G tariff is going to change. You also know that for the second year, you already know what 2/3 of their power supply costs are because they still have 2 3-year contracts that will not be expiring next year. So you're able to predict pretty closely what that total cost is going to be. You're really now predicting or forecasting what that last third is going to be when they rebid. And a significant number of the components of power supply are fixed in advance. They're not even energy related, so you can kind of know what they are. And then energy you can forecast based upon forecasting. And we've been doing this for a while, and we haven't been off by more than, the rates changing by more than like 1% or so. But having said that, the answer is simple. So the rates tend to change by several percent a year at most. Maybe 4% is the biggest I've seen. This year they're actually going up by 1% based on the last auction. So let's say that you do bids for 3 different terms. Let's say the 24-month contract for, reasons in the market is the lowest price, and let's say that the savings are 13%, something like that. Now I know that, okay, I have 13% savings for the first year. Now the second year, I know what 2/3 of the costs are going to be for PSE&G. I'm forecasting the last, as I said, I can forecast pretty closely. Let's say I'm off by 3%. Okay, so the second year, you have a big margin of error because you're saving 13%. So that's how we do it. If you get within less than 5% savings, I'd be nervous about recommending an award of the contract because now you're within that margin of error of forecasting the second year. The other solution would be, do a 12-month contract. You know what you got. There's no guesswork at all. But that's generally how we work it. There's not as much uncertainty as there would be on the gas side, as I addressed earlier. The electric side, it's not that hard to predict the next year out fairly closely. And if your savings you're getting are outside of that band of uncertainty, you can feel pretty good about it. And if your 24-month price gets you today a 5% lower price than the 12-month price, the first year, you're grabbing an extra 5% savings, and now the second year, maybe your savings go from 13 down to 10 or whatever it is, you're still in pretty good shape. So that's kind of a long-winded description of how we go about it.
That's very helpful. I have two other questions. One, if you could just comment, is PSE&G or is allowed to add on or create or apply any charges or fees for customers that are in this program that they are not adding on or charging for customers outside the program? So say New Milford doesn't do it, but River Edge does do it.
Yep.
Is it legal and for any sort of fee or whatever you want to call it?
It would be illegal. It's not permitted. It's very simple. The bill has delivery charges and power supply charges. If a customer doesn't get power from PSE&G, that line item goes away. It's replaced with the power supply price. That's it.
So no hidden surcharges are permitted or anything like that?
Not permitted.
So I guess my last question is this. Can you describe in some detail the opt-out? So for instance, say we did this as a municipality, I would want to know that our residents had a simple, relatively painless way of opting out. So can you, for the record, state exactly how would it be a phone call, would it be a letter, would it be internet, and then how long after it? And if they weren't opt-out, what options do they have for if it didn't happen in a timely fashion?
Okay, so once the bid is awarded, this opt-out letter I described is drafted. It goes to the BPU and Rate Council for their review. That process is 15 days. So within about 3 weeks after the bid, a letter goes out. The letter has been reviewed it's been drafted by us, it's been reviewed by the borough, whoever the borough assigns to it. It has been reviewed by BPU, Rate Council, etc. So the letter is basically one page, two sides. It has the supplier's logo, has the township's logo, so folks can identify with it's a real program. It's been endorsed by the municipality. It's also, this is the supplier. So the first page goes through a description of the bid process, the contract price, the length of the contract, the identity of the supplier. So let's say it's Town XYZ has run this bid process for residents in town. They have awarded a contract to supplier XYZ. The price is 10 cents per kilowatt hour. The price will be good for 22 months from the June 2014 meter read date through the April 2016 meter read date. That will translate into the average utility price to compare is 10.9 cents. The savings therefore are about blah blah blah. It goes through that, and then
kind of give me details of what's on it, but I'm looking for the process, not so much the data included.
Right. So the second page now, so the second page talks about if you don't want to be part of this, you can opt out. Here's how you can opt out. So the supplier is required to have a toll-free number, bilingual capabilities. All customers do is call the toll-free number. I don't want in, take them out.
So, and there's no letter they need to send back. It's just
it's an option. So the letter they get comes in an envelope with the one-page letter. Also, there's what we call an opt-out card. It's a card, postage paid. It's barcoded for that customer, so they can simply sign the card, stick it in the mailbox.
If they choose not to call.
If they choose not to call.
Okay.
So they're given that option as well. There's also an email address provided in the opt-out letter. So a customer can either just sign and send back the postage paid card, call the toll-free number, or just send an email to an assigned email address that the supplier maintains. Any of those three, and you're out. Okay, so that's...
And that service would end 30 days later, or
30 days from the mailing.
cycle?
30 days from the mailing is when the opt-out period ends. So for anyone who has...
No, I mean later on. Say you're in the program for 4 months.
Yep.
Okay.
Then it's anytime you want, you call. And then it'll be to opt out. Then it's effective on the next available meter read date. So the utilities always run... This is the utilities call. This is how their rules are. They, for either enrolling with a third-party supplier or de-enrolling from a third-party supplier, dropping a supplier. It always takes place on a meter read date. That's when the service begins and ends on a meter read date. And their processes require a minimum of 20 days from when the request goes in to the target meter read date. So when a supplier calls or, calls and says, hey, I've been in for 4 months, but I don't want this anymore, they will now be dropped effective with the next available meter read date. So if the next available meter read date is in 21 days, that's the meter read date. If it's in 10 days, it'll be the following meter read, because it's not within that 20-day minimum period. That's utility rules. They have set up their systems
And
automated.
if they fail to drop it, then will they go back and say, oh, we made this mistake, you did call us, we didn't do it in a timely fashion, we're now going to do it at the next month, but we're going to charge back what it would be? I mean, how would that work?
Well, yeah, typically the suppliers are, our experience has been they've been good. We vet them pretty heavily, like the RFP process has a substantial qualification process, so we really do vet these folks. So we really haven't had problems. But we found in, individual circumstances when something happens that's sort of outside the automated process, the suppliers have been good about it. But, the other thing I will say is, because by rule, the contract price has to be below the tariff price. If the customer wanted it to be effective sooner, it would be almost reverse. They'd actually owe money, if you will, because the contract price is lower than tariff, so there's really no damages per se with the delay. It would really be, they get another month of savings is what they get.
All right, can I open it to the public, please?
Can you provide a sample letter that you...
Yeah, I can. I was thinking that.
So the mayor and council can see it. You can explain it, but it's easy that they actually see a sample letter
I will do
you've used.
that. Absolutely, yeah.
So a motion to open to the public? I make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, does anyone on the public have a question or a comment for this potential government energy aggregation? Aggregation. Aggregation. That's what we don't want. Yes, Mr. Nyman. No, just give us your name and address.
I'm Bob Nyman, 15 Kimberly Way, and hello to everybody on the board. A couple of questions. You're not an actual supplier of the electric fence, so we're trusting your vetting process and who the actual suppliers are. Do we know who you deal with? Can you publish or provide us with lists of those entities?
Well, I can certainly tell you. Here's what we do when we do a public bid. There are about 80 or so licensed power suppliers that are licensed in PSCC territory. So when we go through the bid process, we start the public bid, is we advertise the bid in the paper, in the newspaper, pursuant to local public contract law, and we also send a notice of the bid release to all 80 licensed suppliers, or however many licensed at the time.
You're telling me the product?
Yeah.
How do we know the quality, the reputability of them, their longevity, that they're going to do business, their customer service? As Tom's point.
So the RFP will actually has a two-stage process. The first stage is the qualification stage. So in addition to having to file all the legal forms that are required in any public bid, they're given a very detailed list of things they have to provide in terms of just that. Their length of time, how many customers they serve, what states they're in business in, their customer care center resources, how many full-time customer care reps, how many part-time, bilingual capability. We'll get their numbers, we'll actually call them to check, we'll just make random calls and see how they answer, how quick they are. Their experience particularly with these kinds of programs.
I'd like to see a report card.
What we do, and that would be up to the...
I'd like to see quantitative numbers that show me, that makes me feel comfortable. And one of the reasons, let me just address the board, is actually it's my business. One of the tasks that I've done over the past 2 years is to actually buy electric for a major industrial factory in New York. It's different. It's New York State, so it's different suppliers. But we've done that, and there's a lot more to it. And other things that maybe is the time of year when you're actually letting the contract. This is it's a commodity, so the pricing of the electric energy goes up and down virtually day by day. And you can lock into a contract this year, and you got great savings, and then you'll come back a year from now, and you're 20% higher. And meanwhile, if you would have waited just because of the renewal of your contract, if you just waited another couple of months, you can lock into another price that's lower. Middle of the summer, middle of the winter, usually tough ones for electric supply. The shoulder seasons are typical, better, but not necessarily.
Not always like that, yeah.
Not necessarily. So it's a very tricky thing. The other thing that I think is important that everybody realizes is that a lot of the pricing advantage right now has to do with the availability of natural gas. There is a lot of natural gas which is used a lot for electric generation. And it also has to do with an economy that's still not running at full capacity. So there is a lot less demand on the electric grid, electric suppliers across the nation, which has given a little bit of a slack price right now. Utilities, because they have these multiple long-term contracts that overlap, or tied into some of the older pricing. So there is a potential for some savings right now, but that may disappear in a year or two once the utility pricing catches up to the current market conditions for electric generation. Could I ask you just right now, what's the price of electric?
Well, I mean, as you said, it changes hourly. It depends on what term you're looking for. But right now, the pricing, particularly in the shorter-term months, say through next winter, are quite a bit higher than they were even 3-4 months ago. So they've gone up.
What 1 year?
Well, I mean, let me say this. The last bid we did for this program, in December, we got a price of 10.3 cents. I imagine it'll be higher now. Like, I would not, honestly, this is not a time to bid. You're right, I wouldn't bid right now.
So that's the same as my PSC and bill is 1.3.
Maybe on a temporary basis, 1 month because of a reconciliation factor. I mean, the tariff price is well over 11. There's a reconciliation factor that varies month to month. And time of use, I doubt it's 10.3. It's probably 10.9, maybe?
10.9.
Yeah. And it's other months, it's going to be over 11.
So that's a third of a, that's 300.
Well, that's 1 month. I mean, there are summer months it's higher.
There's a lot more. I just offer that if
Yeah.
the council wanted to just at least, I can share some of my detailed experiences with you. I'd be willing to meet with you at some point in time or some small group, and then you can get to the
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Dorothy Calabrese, 208 Woodlands. I don't know that I have a question. I just would like to state that I don't understand why the town would want to get involved in something like this. I mean, we all want to save money, but any individual can go out and do this on his own. Why would the town want to sponsor something that is relatively new? And if you did want to consider it in the future, after many more towns have found a great deal of success with it, that would make sense to me. But it's also setting a precedent. I mean, I could call and say next month, could I have my favorite appliance salesman come in and, you know, through a town program, he'll offer better rates than Sears or Lowe's or anybody else. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I just don't see why the town should be involved in something.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Can I have a motion to close to the public on this issue?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Joe, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll discuss it. All right, next we have a discussion regarding the policy regarding the use of electronic communications between municipal officials.
Mayor, I inquired as to whether the borough has such a policy and found that the borough really does not have such policy. I recommend that it is something that the borough should undertake in putting a formal or adopting a policy regarding the use of emails, Facebook, text messages, things like that, so we do not violate the Open Public Meetings Act, whether it is this mayor and council or the zoning board or the planning board. There obviously in the news has been a lot of activity regarding emails and text messages, and I think it is would be a good idea that parameters be set for the mayor and council and for any other board regarding the use of electronic emails. I've prepared a document for you guys to take a look at and to start the discussion, and it's pretty simple that besides the borough administrator, the clerk, or myself, or the police chief that has to send out an email to the entire mayor and council, there's really no need to reply or hit reply all back to us. It would just basically be one simple email back to myself, not a reply all. I recommend that you don't use the rolling email. Keep the email and continue using that conversation going forward. With communicating amongst the mayor and council, obviously there should be no more than 3 members on. Once you hit 4, you've now created a meeting, and I recommend that doesn't happen. It's pretty self-explanatory. I ran it by the mayor. He actually had some very good changes, which I incorporated already into it. So it's something, again, that I'd recommend that you guys at least take a look at in adopting.
All right. Was it distributed to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
That's one question. You talk about only using official borough emails. That would apply to members of the boards as well? Would we have to create borough emails for our planning board, zoning board, all these other officials, so they have one email address that deals with town business?
It would be ideal, but I understand it's probably not. It may not be easily or accessible to do. So it's recommended that you use borough email to discuss borough business. If not, then your entire email account becomes operable and becomes discoverable. So it's more really of a protection for the individual, for yourself, than that is really for the borough. So that would really be up to the borough. I don't know how much communication really is involved with the planning board or zoning board. Sitting on, being the zoning board attorney in Union City for 8 years, I don't think there was ever one discussion besides a question coming from one member to myself. There's really never a group discussion going on in any of the boards that I represented. So I don't know how prevalent it is. I don't know how much the secretary sends out via email. I don't know if the agendas go out via email or that, but I don't know logistically if you could set it up, but if you could, yeah, that would actually would be great.
I think it's going to be something we have to offer people if we adopt a policy like this, and if they come to the understanding that their personal emails may be operable, we may have to offer them a borough email.
Yeah.
So I think we need to find out if our system can accommodate that and if there's an additional cost associated with
setting up an email.
Okay. Would anybody like to include this policy on a motion for a formal resolution at a subsequent council meeting?
Mayor, perhaps I misplaced it. I don't have that copy. I have not reviewed it because I don't have it.
All right.
It was sent out Denise a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so-
All right, so let's list it one more time for discussion, and then we can, if we can make changes to it, we can move it to the formal, to the consent agenda resolution list.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you, Tom. Thank you. Next is the PSCNG bus lighting plan. Mayor, if I may, we received a lighting plan to upgrade one location, installing two 250W induction Cobras and removing two lights.
And I can remember you. Yeah, there you go.
I believe this was on the recommendation of the Traffic and Safety Committee. Yes.
Was it 3? 1 or 3? I thought it was 3.
Well, they're showing one location, I guess, down by Reservoir. Okay.
I'm just looking for a motion, I'll sign the agreement, and then we'll have to change it.
Can we have a motion to change those heads down by Reservoir?
I make a
I think we're
motion.
changing it from an 80 watt to a 250 watt. We have a motion, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
One question, Mayor.
Yes.
Is there an effect on our monthly cost on this?
I think it's
Probably.
$30, what was it?
Well, they're giving us a one-time upfront cost for the change. And it looks like there's a slight difference of maybe about $15 a month.
All right. Any other questions, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstained, any opposed? All right, very good. Moving right on.
Yeah, Mayor, can I just ask one question? When do they think this will take place? No idea?
As soon as it can be scheduled.
Okay, great, thanks.
Next, we have one item on the consent agenda to put an item on the bulletin board for the Scouts. Can I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have Mr. O'Neill here from the Scouts with the presentation on his Eagle Scout project for pedestrian safety. How are you, Mr. O'Neill?
I'm
Do you have any?
Thank you.
Do you have anything to distribute to us?
Actually, yes, I have a couple of examples here. Just give me a small second. Please feel free to pass this around if you want. This is a copy of my Eagle Scout proposal. It should be able to reply you with any questions that you might have. But if you do have any further questions, I could definitely let you know. That is my flyer, which I will be posting around town. This is the pamphlet, which I will be handing out to people on my distribution and project dates. And if you would like, these are the bracelets. Well, these are basically the common bracelets that I received from the website, which I ordered these from. But the finalized products will be labeled Be Seen in Arial Black.
Mr. O'Neill, why don't you just tell the public briefly what your Eagle Scout project is?
Well, my Eagle Scout project is basically I'm going to educate the community of Riverhead on pedestrian safety at night. You know, I've heard about similar projects around town, and you know, that's what inspired me to do this. You know, other people thought, you know, like glow-in-the-dark, just bright colors, but you know what? I thought of using reflectiveness, and you know what? The cool thing about these bracelets is that they'll become really popular, really fast. And the thing is, in town, for the past 4 years, there have been 12 traffic accidents. So, hey, you know what? It's a very serious thing. And you know what? I definitely think this is going to help out our community. Basically, what my plan is, on the week of the 21st of April, during the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and during the Riverhead Run on Saturday, and at the Van Sun Park on Sunday, I'll be distributing bracelets to commuters at both train stations and the 4 main bus stops.
Okay. And then the pedestrians are going to wear these to help crossing the street or being seen, right?
Yes, exactly.
And how many are you going to distribute?
Well, I'm planning on ordering around 2,000, and I'm getting rid of all of them.
All right. Let the public know that Mr. O'Neill's project was endorsed by the Traffic and Safety Committee. It was endorsed by the council, I think, previously, and we continue to endorse you. Look forward to you getting all of these delivered. If you need any help, let us know. All right?
I think me and my scouts can handle it, but I will definitely let you know if I need any help.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything back? Do you need anything from us?
I might need my stuff back.
Thank you.
I had a question. It says here that you're looking for $17.25 in funding. Is that correct?
25.
To fund this project?
Yes. I have fundraised money by selling candy. I also do have some money saved up. But you know what? I have actually contacted the manufacturer of the bracelets, and you know what? He has actually given me the discount, and he will allow me to get whatever I wanted printed on the bracelets for no charge.
So I saw that you got a $305 discount. Have you raised this money, the $17.25?
Yes, I have.
Very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, 2014 Appointed Officials Liability Seminar.
Mayor, thank you. The Joint Insurance Fund offers a public officials training seminar for each elected official and myself who takes the course. We can earn a $250 training credit. We have a schedule of classes. Denise can register anybody for these in-person classes. The next one is March 17th at 7 o'clock in Woodcliff Lake, followed by April 15th, 6 p.m. in Hillsdale, April 25th, 2014 in 5:30 in Park Ridge, and April 28th, 2014, 7 p.m. in Mahwah. There are others around the state. These are the ones that are closest to us. Again, if you get in touch with Denise, we will register you for these in-person seminars. I believe you could also take the course online if you can't make these dates. But it's very important that we achieve a $250 training credit towards our insurance for each one of these taken.
I'm sure Denise is going to keep tabs on who has given her proof of satisfaction of the course and who hasn't, like she...
Don't we
like
have
she
a
had
meeting March
last year.
17th?
All right, we have to move on because we have a busy agenda. The next item is unfinished business. Anybody have anything under unfinished business? Anybody have any new business?
I have new business. The Special Events Committee, Anthony and I liaison to that, and we would like to make a recommendation for Grand Marshal for the July 4th parade, if I could, Mayor, under new business.
Okay.
We've received a request from the family of former Mayor Bob Graylott, who would very much like to be this year's Grand Marshal. His family sent a lovely letter to Bobby Conway explaining his background in River Edge, as I'm sure many people in the audience know. But he's 93 years old in July. He's lived in town for more than 50 years. He's contributed significantly over that time in both volunteer and elected positions. He's active in St. Peter's and the Knights of Columbus. And it says that this would be a lifelong dream of his to be Grand Marshal of the July 4th River Edge Parade. So the Special Events Committee would unanimously recommend that he be
All right.
appointed as such.
Let's just do this. Let's just list it on the agenda so that it's in writing on the agenda. Then we can move that.
At our next meeting.
Move that appointment.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Let's open to the public. Anyone?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody member of the public wish to speak before we go into the public meeting? Can I have a motion to close to the public?
So moved.
All right. We have a. All in favor? Someone had their hand up?
Yes.
I just have a letter. It's a police matter, but I'd like to give it to you. It's okay? Or is that done later? I don't know.
What do you mean, a police matter?
It's a police matter. It has to do with the arrest of my neighbor, and I just wanted to maybe see if you could help me out with it.
We're going to have to talk about that in personnel. Between the meetings, I'll speak to you.
I mean, maybe you can't.
What?
I'll talk to the other morning, so see what it is.
All right, can I have a motion to close to the public? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have a closed session to interview potential new police officers that we will be conducting after the public meeting. So we won't have to throw everybody out. Let's take 5 minutes and then we can begin the 8 o'clock meeting.
So moved.
Adjourned.
We should say a few of those as we need them.
Pretty good.
Use the ticket for the adjournment.